Hello and welcome to Global Business, CCTV's new program with insights into Africa's ever-changing business landscape. From Nairobi to Johannesburg, from Lagos to Cairo, from small entrepreneurs to large-scale enterprises, we take you directly to the people behind the stories. I'm Jiitu Abraham here in the Kenyan capital of Nairobi, where it's 9 p.m. It's 2 p.m. in Washington, D.C. and 2 a.m. in Beijing. Wherever you're joining us from, welcome. And if you can look over my shoulder, this is another house that has been completely demolished by the storm. As best as I can kind of relate it is like the movie The Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy's house gets picked up and spun around, because this looks like somebody submerged the house underwater and just slowly pulled it back up. Welcome back. You're watching Global Business. Now, tobacco farmers from Malawi, Zambia, Kenya, Mozambique, South Africa, Uganda, and Zimbabwe are all concerned that they're being excluded from deliberations and consultations at the COP6 Framework Convention. Let's dig a little deeper into what this BRICS summit means for Africa. Joining us, BRICS Development Bank will be based in China and headed by India, then Brazil, and then Russia. But where does South Africa fit in, and what are the direct benefits of this membership bloc to the country? So the Development Bank and the Contingent Reserve Arrangement were both officially established today. How and when could Africa start to see the effects of these two new programs? Joining us for more insight and analysis on what we can expect next week at the upcoming U.S.-Africa Leadership Summit. We are joined currently. The U.S. is the third amongst Africa's major trading partners, far behind both the AU and China. What are the administration's plans for the three-day summit, and how could they help bridge this gap? To elaborate a little bit more on this for us, we're joined in studio by Anjali Sawhney, the advisor for renewable energy and adaptation to climate change technologies at the Africa Enterprise Challenge Fund. She specifically is focused on East Africa. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
As we mentioned earlier, ACF awards grants to private sector companies for their innovative business. Now to West Africa, where the Ebola outbreak is threatening a severe economic toll as affected countries remain locked down as they rush to bolster emergency response. Welcome. We begin tonight in Egypt, where the country's Prime Minister, Ibrahim Malab, has assured Egyptians that half of the money previously allocated to subsidies will now be used to improve healthcare and education in the country. There is structural damage here at the Karibe Dam that borders both Zambia and Zimbabwe. This could put a potential 3.5 million people living along this Zambezi River at risk of possibly being flooded out of their house. I have questioned the merit of the summit, saying that if it was indeed about economic matters, why didn't it include American business people and ministers of Trade and Economic Affairs? Actually, farmers that are able to implement conservation agriculture are a lot less susceptible to external climate changes. Conservation agriculture is important to smallholder farmers like this one because it allows them to become food self-sufficient. What that means is now their farms and lands are able to provide enough food for themselves and others living and working on the farm. The bank is set up to foster financial and development cooperation amongst Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. However, other countries also want to partner with the group in hopes of boosting their economies. Namibia's capital, Windhoek, is reputed to be one of the cleanest cities in the world. Its infrastructure is also amongst the best in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, these are huge attractions for people coming from all over the country. However, instead of greener pastures that they had hoped for, many newcomers find themselves confronted with skyrocketing housing prices. Africa's leading online retailer, Jumia, is setting itself apart from other e-commerce shops, one initiative at a time. What's made the African market more open to this form of business now? Let's look now at the markets that we track here for you to see how they're closing the day. Let's look specifically now at South Africa. That's all we have for you in Biz Africa. Be sure to join us again at 18 GMT for Global Business. Back to you, Panita.
Thank you, Jiitu.
Jiitu Abraham, CCTV, Lusaka, Zambia. Zambia has a few extras that sets it apart, especially for the adventure seeker. I can hold the tail, right?
Yeah, you can.
The Microlight is a single-engine, open-cockpit, two-seater aircraft. And with the help of our pilot, we'll be flying 1,500 feet over both Victoria Falls and the Zambezi River. Widowed with 4 little ones to feed, Mary Carl spent many nights worrying about the future of her family. She told me in an interview how scared she felt when she was first left alone to become the sole provider for herself, her 4 kids, and her 2 grandkids. She was forced to move into a smaller house and farm. Carol worked her land full-time but couldn't seem to make a profit and was unable to assure the food security of herself or her family, leaving the family of 7 with empty bellies to go along with their empty pockets. Carol tells me how hopeless she felt until she was introduced to a new agricultural technique that promised her and her family a whole new life. Distraught at having to marry her children off early, she was proud to tell us that now, thanks to new farming techniques, she's food self-sufficient. And not only can she care for her own children still living in the house, she's also able to take care and provide for her grandkids who now live with her. Carol has been farming for 12 years, but has only been using conservation agriculture for the past 3. The method, which incorporates 3 parts, including minimum soil distribution, retention of nutrients on topsoil, and crop diversification, altogether support a more nutrient-rich soil that ultimately help strengthen land year-round. Carol's face shines with pride when she shows us around her new, larger home, proud to be able to provide such a housing upgrade to her family. But in order to be able to implement the CA techniques, money is needed to help small and medium holder farmers transition their lands. Jiitu Abraham, Lusaka, Zambia.